What is going on, guys? Several Productions here, back with another video for y'all today. As again, even though I did I was going to transition to music content, I'm still going to do my monthly recaps. It gets crazy how suddenly it's in March already, but yeah, here we are. But this is basically what I'm going at the end of the month. I'm basically going to talk about all the movies I watched, all the TV shows I watched, the ones I'm currently watching, and all the games I played and all the games I'm currently playing. And then get my thoughts on the month as a whole and just figure out like, what's expected from channel coming into the coming months. Yeah, that's right. I've not done this before, honestly, but I definitely do want to continue this series because for those who do still love my reviews and my content and everything, and you can follow more on my TikTok, Instagram, guys, why I know my reviews and everything. But for the movies that I never get a chance to review, you can check that for here. So just give me a quick thoughts on a lot of this stuff. So, not beyond the brush. Let's talk about the movies I watched in March of 2025. And now we can talk about all the movies I watched. It was quite fun. I'm recording this on the Friday that I would normally have this on the last day, but I have a lot of stuff going on this weekend, so and a lot of stuff, like stuff in general. So I'll explain more on that in the video. But was still able to see 12 movies that came out, which was definitely interesting for interesting group of movies. Again, some of my time quickly more than others, but again, I see 12 movies. Let's talk about them. The first one being Last Breath, which is a pretty underrated movie that actually is based on a true story apparently, and it's a movie that basically delivers what it's trying to deliver, and it does. That's really all I can say about it. I do recommend it though. Do have My Dear Friend Zone, which is a very out there movie, but definitely one of that movies I do recommend. I'm not sure how everyone's gonna feel about that movie, but it's one I still recommend, especially with the humor, especially with the interesting story it tells. It's really one of those movies that I remember not knowing much about the story or the trailers, because I'm saying more will obviously spoil the movie, but it's definitely one of the movies. But then we have Plankton the movie, which as of right now is probably the most surprising movie I have seen in 2025. Because I was not expecting to enjoy the movie as much as I did. Like, it's still up there with Paddington Bear is my favorite movie to come out this year. And it's by a landslide the best SpongeBob movie since the original. I'm dead serious. I mean, I definitely still enjoy SpongeBob Water. Again, SpongeBob Water was okay at best, in my opinion. Saying Jake's movie was abysmal, was probably my second worst movie of the year behind the Mega Man vs. Deduce. And again, still hilarious that my top two best movies last year were animated movies, my top two worst were animated movies. The Plankton movie manages to, just be a simple SpongeBob movie. Like, it basically feels like an episode that's just more extended in length, but in a good way. Focusing more on the Plankton and Karen relationship, probably more than anything ever done. It has just the most fun, humor, and heart that a SpongeBob anything has had in quite a while, honestly. I mean, man, for that, not keep up a lot of latest episodes, honestly, but from what I always hear, it's like so up down anyway. So, but yeah, Plankton movie is definitely a very charming, hilarious, and heartwarming movie, and it really makes you really care more about the Plankton relationship, probably more than ever, honestly. And then we have Mickey 17, the latest film from Bong Joon-ho, which is the same guy that did Parasite. Again, I'm not sure if I've seen any of his other movies, which I feel like I probably need to, honestly. And I think this is another home run for me, honestly. Again, it definitely feels very scattered in some areas, not gonna lie. But it's a movie that does have a lot of heart and passion, and the performances were great, and it delivers on the themes and messages that it tries to deliver. May do a bit too much in some areas, but it's still hilarious, charming, and fun to watch. And one movie I can see really growing on me. And also the same thing with The Date That Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. And I feel so bad for Looney Tunes right now, how they're being treated recently. I feel so bad for them right now. Especially with them like deleting most of their content and everything, and this movie just not making much because they barely market it. And don't get me started on the whole Coyote v. Acme debacle. But this movie proves that, yeah, Looney Tunes can still deliver. Again, it's basically the classic Looney Tunes that you expect. Instead of just focusing on a couple characters, it focuses more on Daffy and Porky. But it still lives that same wit, charm, and heart that you expect from Looney Tunes at this point. It's consistently hilarious, the animation is fantastic, and it's just a very charming movie in general. And then we go to The Electric State, which is kind of the opposite. This movie is pretty awful. And what's unfortunate, this movie is from the Russo brothers. Except for The Gray Man that came a couple years ago, they have not had the best track record after Endgame, honestly, when the Cherry not being that good. This, by a landslide, their worst movie. And supposedly this is actually based off a book that supposedly is a very beloved book, which... I feel bad for the people that love the material because the concept does seem pretty interesting. I'm not gonna lie, but it just feels like this is definitely one of those examples where people think this movie is so AI generated. Like, honestly, this is one of the fewer cases, but it does kind of feel like that in some areas. I want people to say that's just a random turn. Like, in this case, where I do kind of see that actually, because it kind of does feel like that in some areas, and just it's not a fun, engaging movie, and the message it tries to tell not only just obvious, but it's just so ham-fisted, it's just annoying, and you just don't care about the characters and what goes on, and don't really develop much of anything. Like, damn, you guys did Endgame. What happened? And honestly, this honestly doesn't make much except for Doomsday and Secret Wars, honestly, which again, I'm really fortunate to say that. Especially with the recent announcement of that cast they revealed. And I'm sure Doomsday and Secret Wars are going to be good in the long run, but I'm just not but yeah, that's a story for another day. And then we have Snow White. Is it wrong for me to say this movie's just okay? Because I know a lot of people that say this movie is like a disaster and awful and a disgrace. When I don't think it's just perfectly fine. It's a perfectly fine Snow White movie. Like again, it's not good, honestly. I can see why people don't like it, but I don't think it's like an abomination or anything. It's just a definition of mixed bag, right? There are some good elements, as much like Liz Douglas says maybe some controversy, especially with some of the stuff that she says. She is great in the movie. She does do a great job as the titular character. There are some charming, good design moments, some good visual moments. The dwarves have their moments. There are definitely some charming moments. There are some ideas and areas I can definitely see what they were trying to go for here. Honestly, but of course, the fact that Gal Gadot kind of sucks in this movie, and the fact that the movie just paced very poorly, and some story changes I really didn't care for. But I don't think it, like, ruins Snow White in any way, honestly. I don't think it, like, ruins the character or the story or anything. Again, it's a perfectly fine movie. Honestly, like, I pretty much put it on par with the last live action movie, which is Mufasa. I put it about that, honestly. Like, definitely not a terrible movie. Honestly, again, I don't think it's like abysmal, which I'm not sure people are gonna say, "Oh, Disney must have paid you then." Again, it's just okay. I see why you don't like it, but I don't think it's that bad. Not good, but I don't think it's that bad. Oh boy. But then we have Namakane, which is just pure action and adrenaline from beginning to end. Can be a bit too long at times, but if you're someone that just loves action movies and this type of genre, you're going to have a blast with it. And then we have Ash, which a movie I never really heard of till now, which I decided to watch, and again, another perfectly fine movie. There's some aspects I enjoyed, especially from the performances. Again, Paul's great in here. There are some great visual moments. Yeah, it's a movie that basically just wears the influence too much on the sleeve and just feels like it kind of a rip-off in some areas. So it's a movie that just wasn't invested because of that, honestly. Like, there are some great moments here, but overall, just the fact that the pacing can be off at times and the fact that it was influenced too much on the sleeve at times, that's kind of put down being just an okay movie. And then we have Black Bag, which is the latest Steven Soderbergh movie, and I think this is definitely one of his best. Like, this is actually in debate with Paddington Bear, my favorite movie come out this year. I had a fucking blast with this movie. This is easy. One of Soderbergh's best movies, and that movie I can see myself really growing on me, honestly. And, like, honestly, I highly recommend you guys check the movie out. Definitely recommend it. And then we get the last two movies. The first one being Batman Ninja vs. Yakuza League, which is actually a sequel to Batman Ninja that came out in 2018, which I don't think I saw since it came out, but I remember really loving that movie. Mostly because of different takes on Batman and the third act being just an insane series of events. Okay, it's definitely one of the most fun and exhilarating third acts in any comic book movie, honestly. Like the third act was wonderful watching that movie alone. And while I don't want to say the movie doesn't reach the heights of that movie, it still is a damn great movie, honestly. That still on that great aesthetic that you expect from, Batman being called Batman Ninja. Yeah, great animation, great moments, and great action. And the last movie we'll be talking about on this list is In the Lost Lands, which is the latest movie by Paul W.S. Anderson. And I'm sure the name will always give shivers down everyone's spine because obviously he's a very notorious director, and for good reason. Like maybe a couple of hidden gems, a couple of decent movies, but most of the movies are just trash. And honestly, in The Lost Lands is no exception. Like, it's definitely not the worst movie I've seen this year. Like, I don't think any movie's gonna get as bad as The Unbreakable Boy, in my opinion, but yeah, just don't watch it. It's kind of what you expect Bob to make the answer at this point. Don't think I need to say anymore. Hmm? And now we can get to the TV shows that I watch. And again, I've seen a lot of shows that I'm still I'm watching, but of course we have to, I've seen a total of 11 new TV shows that came out. Of course, the other popular shows that I'm currently watching, like of course we have the new season of The Voice, which I've been really enjoying seeing Alan Bean's return on the show. Daredevil Born Again. Daredevil Born Again. Which of course is the latest TV show Daredevil, which is actually a continuation of the show, and I so far have been loving this season, honestly. I'm not sure if it's going to reach the heights of the original show, but, you know, the fact that they actually kept the tone, honestly, it's still incredible. And the actors have not lost a beat. I've also halfway through season 2 of Gossip Girl and season 6 of Natural. I've also finished season 2 of The Sopranos and Lost, which I've been loving both those seasons. Of course, there's Australia, Survivor, Brain First Born 2, which definitely had an up and down pretty much, mostly because of the editing, but I was really picked up in the merge, like really picked up. And then lastly, we have Survivor 48, which I'll say that's probably the best pre-merge of the new era so far, especially with the recent episode. Not only has a very shocking butt out, but that's probably one of the most emotional moments in recent Survivor history with the autism moment with Eva, which, again, which you probably won't know if I'm talking about. Again, I did make a video on my Encyclopedia channel if you guys want to know my more detailed thoughts on that moment, but all in all, again, one of the most emotional moments in recent Survivor history. And then we get to TV shows that I did finish watching, and no, 11 exactly. I've actually finished like 2 animes, and that'd be both Da Dan and Delicious in Dungeon. Which anyways, I enjoyed a lot more than I expected, honestly, and that the damn being one that's just very off the walls, but in the most possible way. Delicious Dungeon being more of a simple show, but a very comforting show as well. A show that may take a bit to get going, but once it does, it just hits the ground running. And then we have Wizards Beyond Waverly Place, which of course is the reboot to Wizards of Waverly Place. Reboot to the Wizards of Waverly Place. Which I think is actually a solid continuation of that show, actually. Okay, enjoyed a lot more than I expected, actually. Again, I don't think it reaches the height of that original show, but being a continuation, it could be a lot worse. And it doesn't like ruin the original or anything. You think it might have been at first, considering what happened in the premiere, but what happens to certain elements of the character, especially with Justin. But for one, it's proof that he actually can make his own show, and 2, they do explain in some areas, so I do give them props on that. And then we have season 3 of The Traitors, which has so many incredible moments. Again, I did do a review on my reality show channel. If you guys want to check that out. But season that has so many highs, some of the best traitor moments ever. But the finale pretty much sucks. So I'm still debating why not this is my favorite season of The Traitors because of that, but it's definitely up there for sure. Definitely up there. Then we have season 3 of The Invincible. Then we also have Invincible Season 3, which again, they're doing 2 projects they did previously, so thank God on that. And I thought Season 3 was great, actually. Like, it definitely is probably the weakest season so far, mostly because of the pacing in the middle, and which a couple of characters have a lot more to do, mostly Eve, but you still get that the great character moments, great action, and the exhilarating moments that you expect from the show at this point. They might have to change a couple things up if they want to like, keep this consistent quality, honestly. But overall, still a great show. Then we have Deal or No Deal Island 2. I actually don't think I did a review on this channel just yet, but this season is just incredible. And honestly blows away season 1 out of the water. They faced a couple of the Knicks for this season. And of course, the fact that we have Dr. Will in this season, Parvati Shala, and David Gunnett. All of them deliver, but even the new players end up bringing so much to the table and so much great moments. This is my land's I think better than season 1 in pretty much every way, honestly, and I'm excited to see what else they do with this season, who else they could bring for season 3 if it gets renewed. I don't know if it is, honestly, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, this show is just firing all cylinders now. And then we get to and then we get to Shrinking, which I finally watched the first season of the show, and This is definitely up there as one of my favorite shows to come out that I've watched this year because both seasons are just fantastic. It's fortunate that Apple TV shows that Apple TV is not pushing out most of these shows because a lot of them actually end up being pretty fantastic and just pretty well done in general. Just incredible. And it would be from an emotion and the characters and what goes on and everything. It's truly a remarkable show. All the Jason Segel, Harrison Ford, Dolphin top tier performances. I will say check it out yourself. And the last photo shows are shows that were airing, but they ended up finishing airing their seasons. So I'm giving quick thoughts on them. Which those shows being, we have Shifting Gears, which is a sitcom with Tim Allen as it stars Tim and Kat Dennings, and I'm not sure what else to show it to expect this show, but I wound up enjoying it so much more than I expected. Honestly, like it's a sitcom that's not like revolutionizing anything, especially with the story itself. I think what elevates it is definitely the chemistry between Tim Allen and Kat Dennings, and the characters end up becoming a lot more developed and interesting than you might expect, actually. So just couldn't it be like one of the next big sitcoms if it gets renewed, actually. I actually consider this being one of the next big sitcoms, honestly. And again, Tim Allen's also a fantastic actor. I mean, he does kind of play a character that's more similar to his characters like in Home Improvement and Last Man Standing. But there's enough like differences here, honestly. And Tim Allen's just one of those like incredibly charismatic actors that even if playing the same character, he'll always deliver. And Kat Dennings is also a pretty underrated actress, honestly. And she's one of those actors that if she's given the right material, she can really deliver the comedy, and she absolutely does here. You kind of just what you expect from a sitcom and what you expect from the story, but it managed to also have some very touching moments, especially towards the end. So yeah, pretty good show. And I was at the same thing with Happy's Place, which is the latest sitcom starring Reba McEntire. Where basically she ends up getting her dad's bar. The fact that she has a long lost sister, and them trying to figure out how to do all that stuff, and just a lot of life stuff in general, and trying to manage a bar. We also got Melissa Peterman, who of course she worked Reba on her show Reba, which is one of my favorite comfort sitcoms of all time. And they still work well with each other. Again, the chemistry between those characters are great. Right, it definitely can feel a little repetitive at points, honestly, and some characters I'm still not fully sold on, but it's still a little hard to expect this kind of show to do. And I was definitely smiling a lot about the show, especially when we actually see Steve Howey, who plays Man in Reba, and Christopher Rich, who plays Rock in Reba, return. And those are just fantastic episodes in general. Just very appearances. Probably we can play more of these appearances from the other actors for season 2, so I'm definitely excited for that. And maybe we might actually get a Reba revival. Like, it's definitely one of the few revivals that I'm actually hoping does happen. But anyways, we also get season 5 of Harley Quinn, which is of course the Harley Quinn TV show that honestly I think is fantastic, honestly. And while season 5 is probably the weakest season so far, it's because I can tell that not trying to know what they want to do with some of his characters anymore, especially Harley Quinn herself. So I hope is not that's be one of the show that just gets worse as it goes along. But the vibe is still great, still keeping the same charm and humor, just the story is just not as interesting. And the last show I'll be talking about is Severance. Season 2. I boy love Season 1. Season 2 pretty much confirms Severance is my new favorite show on television right now. Just, holy crap, this show. Just watch it for yourself. Again, the Spice Season product easily the best show on right now. And now, we get to the video games. I'll say, I've played 12 games. I've beaten 12 games this year. No joke. This is like the most gaming I have done in so long. So, like, all I wanted to do was just play games and just. Sometimes I would stay a little bit later than usual just to finish this game. And yeah, I ended up being 12 honestly. And like 7 or 8 that I'm actually being from this series. I've been playing honestly. Before, let's get to the other games I have beaten, which are Final Fantasy 12-2 and Final Fantasy 12-13, Lightning Returns. Final Fantasy 13-2 being probably the best game in the Final Fantasy 13 series, having some improved combat, but kind of a worse story. And Lightning Returns is just decent at best. It's honestly not the most memorable game in the world, but still has good moments. Then we have Assassin's Creed Revelations, which I thought was actually a great closer to the SO trilogy by being mostly the same game. Okami, which, despite the fact that it has some repeated bosses every on the pace, it can be a bit lower at times. It's the reason why the game is still beloved, honestly, and it's one of the games I consider myself really appreciate the more I play it. And then we get to the last game I end up being for from this video, that is Devil May Cry 4. I finally beat this game, and despite the fact that the pace can kind of drag down a little bit towards the middle portion, it's a game that does have some fantastic moments, and it's probably my second favorite in the series behind the three, honestly. I mean, eventually I might get to DMC and if I want to, and I will play all the games in the series. We'll see how that goes. And of course, I'm going to put some of the games I'm currently playing right now, which are, Pac-Man World Repack. I'm almost finished with it. And I also play a little bit of Sonic Frontiers, which I've been enjoying. And pretty much based on around the rest I've been playing is pretty much Yakuza. The rest I've been playing have been pretty much just flat out Yakuza. So this might be more of a Yakuza fanboy video because I've always wanted to play this series. I've always wanted to get into the Yakuza franchise. And for the last month, the only one I really played was Yakuza 0. I remember playing a little bit of Kiwami a couple years ago, but I never finished it for some reason. Sorry. But yeah, Yakuza was the only game I played a couple years ago, so I decided to, with the new game released and knowing that a lot of my shooter friends actually are playing this series right now, I decided to give 4 fours in this series. Little did I know, I would probably be obsessed with this series. Like, I do not remember the last time a game franchise has had this much of a hold on me. Like, oh my god. Again, I ended up being 7 games in this series within the span of a couple months. I am not joking. And I even played a little bit of some of them, like, Judgment, Infinite Wealth, and The Man Who Raised His Name. And I might have them in April's recap, we'll see how that goes. But the ones I've really been are Yakuza Kiwami 1, Kiwami 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the RPG Like a Dragon. Which, again, I'm obsessed with this series, honestly. And so far, I've been loving this series. I've been loving, exploring the world of Kamurocho, exploring these different areas, these different mini games. Like, each game has so much content that you can do in these games. Like, each game, even the show must have a boatload of content. Have so much stuff that you can really do and explore and experience. And honestly, I love that in the series, honestly. And I pretty much enjoyed all these games, honestly. Obviously, some of them definitely better than others, obviously, but I've been loving a lot of this series. Again, Kiwami 1, great. Kiwami 2, fantastic. 3, solid at best. Definitely the weakest so far. So 4, pretty damn good. 5, pretty much amazing. And 6 is also surprisingly emotional, but the JRPG Like a Dragon is just phenomenal. I literally could not put that game down. And I'll say the same thing with the sequel, which I've not beaten yet. I think I'm halfway through the game actually, which, again, considering how long game that is, especially with all the content you do with Infinite Wealth, oh boy. I really could not put that down. I was just locked into this series, where we do a lot of side content, the mini games, and experiencing the great story. And while some of the stories and character modes are better than others, it's a game that I'm really invested in. I'm really engaged with what goes on with these characters and the storytelling and what goes on and the good character moments, the crazy melodramatic antics, soap opera antics. Because I can imagine some aspects don't make a lot of sense because of the kind of more embracing it. The combat is pretty much great as well. Again, some are better than others, obviously, but it's a game where there's so much greatness to do, and the pacing is usually pretty well done. Honestly, maybe it tries to a couple areas, but for the most part, it's usually paced pretty well. In reality, if you just go through the main story, some of this games don't really even take that long, honestly. But like I said, I pretty much enjoyed all these games, honestly. Again, Yakuza 3 is probably my least favorite, but I still think it's a solid game, honestly. It's just not as polished as the other ones. 4 is still a good game, I'm just thinking it gets very convoluted because it focuses on you have 4 playable characters. I think it can be convoluted trying to bring them together, honestly. Maybe the pace can drag at certain points because of that. And I'll say it's like so 5, I don't think it's much better game. 6 has a pretty emotional story. Kiwami 1 is a pretty worthy remake. Kiwami 2 is just, again, I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected. And like a dragon, like I said, I could not put that game down. And same with Infinite Wealth as well. And so far, I enjoyed the time I put into Judgments, which is the second spinoff, The Man Who Raised His Name, and Like a Dragon Ishin. Like, I'm pretty much just blowing through this series. And every time I think I was going to take a break from it, which I kind of did when I finished Devil May Cry 4. All I want to do is just play the series, honestly. So, so I'm like gonna focus more on this series, honestly, and pretty much for all of them. Again, I do plan to play for the Judgment games. Again, if it was Ishtin, of course, the recently released projects on Hawaii at some point. And then maybe I might take a little bit and focus on other games I do want to finish, and games that, again, I almost start with Pac-Man World Recap, which is the remake of Pac-Man World, which I've been really enjoying. And I also be Star Frontiers, and maybe I'll start Codes as well. And then once they get back into streaming, I do plan on playing Monster Hunter Rise, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I've been on a Yakuza kick throughout this month, and yeah, I've been absolutely loving this series, because my favorite product would be Like a Dragon. Well guys, I hope you all enjoyed my thoughts on all the movies, shows, and games I watched for March 2025. It's great we're only 3 months into 2025 so far. Like, I have no freaking idea how that's even possible. But here we are. You always say time flies when I'm fun, and time flies when you get older. So I might as well step at this point, honestly. Again, April might actually be kind of a weird month, honestly, so April might actually be kind of a bit up down month in terms of for my movie watching, my TV watching, and my video game playing as well. I'm not even getting into details on that as of right now, but I might explain that honestly when the month, honestly, when you know what happens. Again, I'm not going to get into all the details at the moment, at least not in this video. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook if you guys want to know what really is going on. So I don't want to spend it on YouTube. But basically, just stuff just came up, honestly, and let's just say some stuff just came up, honestly, and so April might be a bit of a weird month when it comes to that stuff. So maybe might not play as much or might not watch as much. Did things go well or not? But once that stuff didn't care, I'm going back into full forcing all that stuff, and I will be back to Twitch streaming as well. I feel like it sucks that every time I want to get back into streaming, when the bad stuff always happens, whether it be from something that happens on when I'm streaming, or something that happens while I'm playing, or something that life stuff ends up occurring that offends me from streaming consistently. Because I really do want to, but it's how it goes. But I'm going to focus, finally going to truly focus on that, at least the best I can, honestly, once all that starts to get out, honestly. Again, I'm still going to like this year, if things still don't work out, I'm probably going to quit streaming altogether. I think I already started once or twice, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to try to focus on gameplay streams, but I'm also going to focus on co-working streams to try to help my back into more song rank. I feel like that's been up and down recently because of everything going on. I might influence the character streams as well, so stay tuned for that as well. Where we from on here on YouTube, we'll see how that goes. We will see how that goes. And of course, I do plan to do more music content, like my karaoke videos, or some of those shorts and all stuff, and I might start doing some ukulele clips as well. Yeah, so again, these might be very up and down for a bit, but like I said, once they're together, I'll try to be as consistent for as I can, and I definitely do want to, honestly. It's just, yeah, I'm focusing on Monster Hunter Rise, and then also possibly finishing my playthrough Legend of Dragoon, honestly. I'm not sure if I'm up for content here, or I might just do like a live channel or something. We'll see how that goes. And I'm also going to work on some pre-films and videos, so that at least I have some content to be uploaded, guys. Again, I do plan on uploading more of my character videos. I do have like 20 or 19 character compilations that are pre-edited, honestly. I did space them out a little bit, honestly, but I do have like 19 of them in the works. It's actually 20 in the works as well. Like, it's crazy how many compilations I end up editing, honestly, and some of them I just upload out of nowhere. Would be on my shorts or my videos, but like I said, I seem to get the most views on my videos I do, so that's why I'm releasing more of that. And honestly, I'm happy about that. As I'm looking at a few more big videos from my Spire channel, so we'll see how that goes. And I think that pretty much has everything. So thank you all so much for love and support, honestly. I am Cinema World from Cinema Productions. I will see you next time, as always. Stay cool, but peace.